we've reached the hour of 3 o'clock. This is the quarterly meeting of the Woodland-Davis Clean Water Agency Board of Directors. Madam Clerk, would you mind calling a roll so we reflect who's present?
Chair Tom Stellard.
Present.
Vice Chair Josh Chapman. Here. Director David Moreno.
Present.
Director Donna Neville. Here. And participating agency from UC Davis, Courtney Doss.
Here.
Like, whoops.
So
and Director Angel Barajas from the county.
Okay, so we're essentially all here except for our non-voting member, Director Angel Barajas. All right. Agency business is approval of the agenda and the following consent items. And that's items 1A, our minutes of our last meeting, and B, the approval of the Treasurer's quarterly report. Any comments from any member of the board? No. Any member of the public? No. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move the consent agenda.
Thank you.
Second.
Director Neville makes the motion and Director Chapman seconds. Any further discussion? There being none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. This brings us to item 2, which is public comment. By law, we reserve time for members of the public to address us on any issue not otherwise on the agenda, should anyone wish to speak. Is there any comment, public comment? We're very surprised about that. Okay, and that takes us to item 3, the Woodland-Davis Clean Water Agency General Manager Update and Operations Manager Update. And I think we've only got the General Manager at the moment, Tim Bush.
Hello, good afternoon. The usual topics for today, look at the water supply outlook, how the water supply is looking for the remainder of the summer and a little bit going forward. Update on where we are with supplemental long-term water supply options, capital improvements that we've been working on and planning to, and then the usual operations update. And then there's one new one this time. We applied for a temporary urgency change petition. That was kind of a hard group of words to say. So I'll talk about that a little bit briefly as well. So first up, water supply outlook. This graph is pretty familiar. We see this every board meeting. This looks at the 8-station Northern California gauges. It basically approximates like water supply in Northern California for Sacramento River and the big reservoirs up north from us. The top of the shaded area is the average, over 30-year average. Across the horizontal axis is months of the year. And the vertical axis is cumulative rainfall months. So the water year does end October 31, or October 1. Water year ends October 1. So we're getting close to the end of the water year. The blue line is this current year. The other color lines are different years. Hopefully you can read the years. Some dry, some wet. So the dark blue line is the current year. Right now we're at about 107% of average for the year, so just a little bit above average. It actually came up a bit the past few weeks with the thunderstorms that they had up in the Sierras over the past few weeks. That doesn't really matter for our water supply. So overall it was a good year. One thing I thought was interesting, the pink line is 23-24. That was just below average. If you average this year and last year, you basically get average. As a math guy, that was interesting to me. So next slide, please. First, a quick look at the two big reservoirs north of us, Lake Oroville. Again, this top of the shaded area is the 30-year running average. Bottom is time of the year, and vertical is water storage in the reservoir. The dark blue line is kind of a bit close to the black line, which was last year. Dark blue line is this year. The reservoir is right now and has been all winter long a bit above average. So it's about 110 or so % of average for this time of year. So it's looking very healthy going into winter. Irrigation for the most part this year is done. So that most of that water will be carried over through the winter months and into next year. So it's looking about a little over half, close to 60% full right now is where it is.
I drove over Shasta recently. I thought it looked lower than I expected.
It's Shasta is a little over half right now. So the current graphic right now is like Shasta. Right now it's a little over half full, which is a bit above average. It's probably about 105% of average for this time of year.
Thank you for the reassurance.
Yeah, so it's better than it's been in the last several years. Last year was about the same as this year, but
our people who drink our water and the fish want to say thank you.
Yes. So hopefully that continues and we have a wet winter coming up. No prediction on that yet, but we'll see. So update on the long-term water supply option. We've been working on this for a few years, working to get a long-term supply in hand. We met with Salcedo Water District. They are interested in doing a long-term water supply with us. We met with ESA and Associates. They are our environmental consultant on what we need to do for CEQA, for a long-term water transfer agreement, and then with our attorney on what all needs to happen in order to make that happen. It looks like working with ESA, we're just going to do a straightforward EIR addendum. So we should come in budget-wise quite a bit under what we had planned for. We looked at basically an EIR amendment, and it looks like we can come in with an addendum, which is a lesser amount of work. So it should come in quite a bit below what we thought it might. One thing that really helps us is that, again, this year, stream flow depletion factor is not an issue. So now we're confident that we can go with a longer-term agreement and work it out that way. Basically, working with Salcedo Water District, it's a reservoir reoperation plan that they're simply operating the reservoir differently to make water available to us, and it's not groundwater substitution, which makes it both easier environmentally and CEQA compliance, and also the depletion factor goes away. We're also looking at other long-term water supply options. There's a couple of them locally that might be promising and actually benefit habitat to some extent. We're looking to see if we can get that included in the EIR addendum as well to make it more straightforward if we do an option for that type of water supply also. I'm actually meeting with, we met with the ESA and our attorney last week, and I'm meeting with them again tomorrow on furthering the work for that work. So ESA is putting together a scope right now to get that done for us. Next slide, please. Capital improvements. So this is maybe a little bit presumptuous, but we did already schedule. One of the items for board consideration today is the filter re-rating study. We did already schedule a kickoff meeting for that work. So we'll see what the board says about that. So we do, the picture shows our filters. So we have 5 filter galleries at the water treatment plant. Each one is 900 square feet. So we're looking at, I'll talk more about that a little bit later on, but that's our filters. If you're curious why the water looks a little bit blue in those, that's because of the aluminum sulfate that we use for coagulation in the early part of the water treatment process. Aluminum tends to look blue in light. So that's just a little bit of aluminum that remains prior to filtration. Gives it a little bit of that blue color. Next up, we do have still a small project at the joint intake. Water that runs off of our paved parking lot towards the river tends to go off the parking lot and onto the levee slope down to the river, not where the rock is currently located. So it's going to cause erosion. So it's a really minor project to make where the water runs off the parking lot match where we want it to go down to the river. So something that's been on our list to do. We'll get to that very soon. But it's a very minor project. Another thing that's recently completed at the water treatment plant itself, we worked with Jacobs and we did install a sump pump to remove water from underground. We had been getting some water in our electrical duct banks. Not deep enough to actually be groundwater. We're not quite sure what the source ever was. But we put in a sump pump to get rid of that nuisance water so we don't have water contacting our electrical lines. We thought that would be a bad idea to let that continue.
Where's the water coming from?
We never quite figured it out because it's really shallow, so it's several feet above the stormwater pond. There's nothing leaking from the water treatment plant. So it's almost like it must be rainwater in winter that somehow infiltrates and gets into our piping somehow. There was never really an apparent source.
I mean, have we sealed up wherever, the surrounding area that would be allowing water into this area?
Yeah. Yeah, and everything's new. A lot of the water treatment plant is paved. This concrete structure is all hard pipes. So this is not really, and we do have a stormwater system there to handle stormwater that falls. We never could quite figure out where it was coming from. So we put in a sump pump to pump out the nuisance water.
Okay.
Operations updates. So I'll take Stan's hat now and do the operations update for him. August was a really good month in water treatment. We averaged 26 million gallons per day, so just under 90% of the water treatment plant's operating capacity. Our peak day we had was 27.6 in August. This is really related to Term 91 curtailment starting a bit later this year. Mathematically, we were able to really freely use our 10,000 acre feet of our Sac River settlement contract water right. That we really had no restrictions on partners' water use this year. So the partners were free to take as much as they needed to. Woodland took in August averaging 13 million gallons per day. Davis took 11.2. UC Davis took 1.7. And yeah, our peak day, as I said, was 27. That might be about the highest average we've had so far since we started operations. As always, we meet all of our regulatory and contractual drinking water requirements. And the water quality reports are updated to the agency's website every month. The Term 91 curtailment ended early this year. It ended on September 9. It's kind of a surprise. They ended it on, I think it was a Tuesday, which usually they do that on 4 p.m. on Friday. So they're more aggressive with changing these things than they used to be.
I'd be interested in a Woodland-specific question. What capacity are we in the ASR wells?
The ASR wells right now have about 3.4 billion gallons stored.
Are they at capacity?
There's not really a true capacity. Our permitted capacity is 100,000 acre feet, so it's 3.5 trillion gallons of water, I guess we could do, but you could never recover it. So it's more like how much can we inject and store versus how much can we actually recover, because we can only pump water out at 8 million gallons per day is our maximum pumping rate. So it becomes more of a, there's no true upper bound in capacity, but it's more like how many gallons could we ever pump out in a summer if we needed
You
to.
said 3.4 billion gallons?
Yes.
That's a great, thank you.
Yeah, so we're looking at what do we do this, what does Woodland do this winter? Woodland probably won't start injecting until probably December, just because we don't need to add much more to the aquifer. It makes recovering the water later more difficult, or a really long drought than we could recover it. Next slide, please. So 2 other items I need to bring to the board's attention. We did receive a notice of uncontrollable circumstances from Jacobs about a month or so ago. I think I may have sent that to the board. This is related to caustic soda. It's one of the chemicals we use for water treatment. I think it's the one that modifies our pH. The caustic soda on the west coast of the United States is all imported. They do make it in the rest of the country, but for whatever reason, they don't have capacity and or don't ship to the west coast. So we got hit with tariffs. This is, from what I recall from the letter, the original tariffs back in April. So it may change again. I'm not quite sure, but so just bring it to your attention that we are paying some tariffs. It's not a huge dollar amount for us. It's not a big dollar item. It fits within our already approved budget. One other item, a bunch of bullet points to that one, is electrical issues at the water treatment plant. We have talked with the board about this at several board meetings. We have been working closely with Jacobs and our own team on what do we do to make the plant more reliable in terms of electrical water issues. I probably should have adjusted these bullet points a little bit, so I want to start from a little bit below. August of last year, a City of Woodland contractor hit a power pole and took the pole down. Well, they hit the AT&T line and took the power pole down right at the corner of County Road 102 and County Road 24, which is the access road to the water treatment plant. That sent a surge through the lines to the water treatment plant, which has surge protectors. It does have surge protection. The surge arrestor did its job and stopped the surge from going into the plant and damaging downstream equipment. One of them actually exploded. So it was hit with a very high amount of voltage.
As opposed to the fireworks on the west county, this was on the east county.
Yes. Yeah, so when that happened, it actually blew into the adjacent cabinet, which houses our switchgear. Electricians were called to the site to evaluate, and what do you do? It was determined to be unsafe to use the switchgear right away because it may have been damaged on account of what happened next door. So we ended up running on the generator for 15 days and brought in a backup generator during that time in case the main generator needed to go offline for maintenance a few times, and just to have a backup for the generator. So altogether it was a rather high dollar amount to deal with that. So we asked Jacobs back at that time, hey, can you guys look into this? How do we make sure this type of thing doesn't happen again? Jacobs brought in several experts, and including on their own team and some outside people, Eaton and also Risa Energy, and they did a full root cause analysis to kind of really dive into the electrical issue, what happened, what can we do going forward to make this not be the case. So there were several recommendations. We've been meeting with Jacobs regularly, working with our attorney on this. So a couple of things that we're working to do, we have action items now. Jacobs will be looking into adding larger surge arresters. The ones that are in place are the correct size. We had our own electrical engineer come in and help us with that because Stan and I don't really quite speak electrical all that well. And so we brought in our own electrical engineer, and they reviewed it, and she said that, yeah, this is what you would do. That you would never really size the surge arrestor differently, given the information that we had from PG&E, which was our supplier. And but it got hit. What happened was it got hit with a voltage 2 to 3 times what you would have ever designed for. The surge was. So we're going to upsize the surge arresters to something bigger. Stan and I are working with PG&E to try to get with their engineering team to see can we get a set of surge arresters on the PG&E side, not just on our side. It's interesting that Woodland's wastewater treatment plant right across the pond from the water plant has surge arresters on the PG&E side. PG&E owns them, and they maintain them. We don't have that at our plant, and we've never understood why that is. And we've been trying to engage PG&E for a while, but we're going to make sure we do that. Jacobs is also going to be getting a power quality meter, so we can track and record the voltage and the current that we get from PG&E 24 hours a day, so we can show them the data. And one of the struggles we've had with PG&E in the past is how do you prove to them that voltage went up or down from what it should have been? Because we don't have a really good track record of that. So we're gonna get ourselves the ability to do that. So we are so action items going forward. We are still reviewing the invoice that we have. It's about $340,000, so it is a real dollar amount, but it was what needed to be done at that time. So we're reviewing that with our attorneys and our electrical staff, and we'll get that resolved shortly. There was another power outage July of this year. We ended up running on the generator 2 days that time, so it wasn't nearly as bad as the one from the year before. So we're working through that one as well. So we'll report on that one more in the future. So I can take any questions to the extent that I understand electrical systems.
Director Chapman.
Yeah, not specific to electrical, but so where are we at with the alternative to the generator? Right, what is our long-term plan for not be running? I mean, if we have a 15-day, there's other consequences that we're dealing with for running it that long, right?
Yeah.
So what's kind of the long play?
Yeah, so one thing that's not in here is we're gonna move the surge arresters further away from the other cabinet, and we've always had backup surge arresters. Those are like $150 on the shelf. So we've always had backup. So if we move, one of the things, move the surge arresters further away, make them stronger, or make them more robust, that if we get a surge that happens again, takes out the surge arresters, swap them out, put new ones in, you're right back in business, without having to deal with the switchgear again. We're still working on the DER, the distributed energy resources, which would be the smart controller, battery backup, and help move things around between generator, grid power, and some solar and battery. That we had applied. Part of it is really predicated. We really wanted grant funding. This is not an inexpensive project. The grant we applied for through Bureau of Reclamation a year or so ago is still on hold. It's renewable energy type grant application. It's not in favor these days. They didn't cancel it, but they've never reviewed it. I don't know where that's going to be. So we're working through. So we're still in design. We're still working through that. And then we're also planning on applying for PG&E has a SGIP program, Sustainable Generation Incentive Program, that can fund quite a bit of this work. So we're working and getting that grant application put in as well.
So when a surge happens and then the surge arrestor protect, right, it stops it. So then you change out the surge arrestor and now you have power to the plant.
Yes.
Got it. And do we change those out in-house, the surge arrestors, or do you have to wait for PG&E to come and do it?
Those we can do in-house, but I don't know if you guys bring in San Joaquin. Yeah, they bring in San Joaquin Electric.
Got it, okay.
Local
so it's a fairly quick process that we're able to do. Okay.
Yeah, they've been typically on site within like an hour of when they're called.
Thank you, Tim. That was a great report.
One more thing.
Okay.
Sorry. Next slide. So we did apply. I did send this to the board. I remember sending that to the board. The agency did apply for a temporary urgency change petition to the Division of Water Rights to temporarily modify the agency's primary water right. This is to allow the City of Davis to do aquifer storage and recovery well feasibility study testing. So they're going to inject up to 500 acre-feet at 2 wells, prove to the state that you can put the water into the ground and take the same water back out, towards the City of Davis developing an aquifer storage and recovery program.
You want to tell them the good news about the grant?
Woodland So also ASR well related, the City of Woodland did apply for a Bureau of Reclamation grant, kind of using the agency's water rights and power supply through WAPA, frankly, to help make that happen. but the City of Woodland was selected for a $3 million grant for its next aquifer storage and recovery well.
I was thinking also of the money that you have to allocate for other purposes, including the cost of the study for the new Davis ASR well.
Yeah, that's an agency board item coming up in a little bit.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Where are the two well sites you're referencing here? Where are they?
That's a Stan question. I do not exactly know.
Okay.
I think
I've
it's
seen the map before, but I'm imagining they're the ones fairly on the north side.
I think so. I know they're intermediate depth well, not the two deep wells.
Yeah, I don't know
That's about it.
which are deep and which are not, but that's okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Sorry.
Okay.
That's it.
It still was a good report. Thank you.
Go. Thank you.
Any additional questions, Heather? No. Courtney, excuse me. I did it again, didn't I? Okay. David? You're done too?
I'm all good, thank
And
you.
thank you for squaring me away. It's a difficult task. All right, thank you so much. That brings us to item 4, consider adopting resolution 20-2503, approving the capital modification amendment between Woodland-Davis Clean Water Agency and Jacobs for Regional Water Treatment Facility Filter Re-rating Implementation Plan. That's a mouthful.
Yes, there's a lot of words. It'll be a big report when we're done with it as well. So this is an attempt to basically re-rate the water treatment plant so that we can increase our permitted capacity from 30 million gallons per day to 34. A couple of reasons for doing this. One of them is that both cities and UC Davis have growth going on, and this is kind of the plan for the future to allow greater deliveries, more than 30 million gallons per day when we're delivering water to the partners at an unrestricted rate like we had this year. This year already, we got fairly close. We got more than 90% of our capacity in some days. The other part of it is even right now, the City of Woodland takes water on a pressure basis rather than a flow basis. City of Davis takes water on basically a constant flow rate, and they change it up and down when they need to. City of Woodland takes water on a real-time basis, and at several mornings this year, and probably still is the case now, that water leaving the plant to the partners is more than 30 million gallons per day on an instantaneous basis. So not all day long, but for a couple hours, we've hit around 34 for a few hours in the mornings, sending water to the partners, and then it drops back later in the day. So what we're doing right now is we're drawing down the water tanks in the morning. The operations staff have to make sure the tanks are full overnight, so there's water to send out in the morning and then work to refill them. We can operate that way. It's just a bit more challenging. So it's partly that, but mostly to set us up for the future. The study will take a little over a year to complete because we have to prove that the filters can treat water at a higher rate than they're currently permitted for. Right now, we're permitted for 6 gallons per minute per square foot. And we already know that they can do more than that. We're going to get them re-rated for 8 gallons per minute per square foot. So basically a big jump in treatment capacity. In order to do that, we have to run the plant through all kinds of river conditions, including times like right now where the water is pretty clear, turbidity is pretty low, including in times when there are storms coming in and the Sacramento River looks like chocolate milk. We have to prove that we can treat at the higher rate through all river conditions. So that study will take a little over a year to complete, and then I'm pretty sure when we apply for a permit from the state, permit amendment from the state, that'll take another year plus. So this is we probably won't complete this task entirely for a little over 2 years. That's maybe optimistic. So it's really setting us up for the future, and then the next time we can really deliver water to the partners at a higher rate than we currently do. The plant itself mechanically is already able to handle 34. Our existing pumps or existing tanks can already handle that. Yeah, that would be the max without some physical improvements.
Right. And as our staff report indicates, this is $121,595 cost for this study.
Yep.
And we're being asked to approve the resolution to go forward. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Questions from my colleagues?
I have a question on the fiscal
Yes,
impact
Courtney.
section. I know the study's just 121,000 and some change. Have you looked at kind of the long-term fiscal impact on the agency and the partners of operating at that higher rate?
Not yet. Partly because I think we do have about 2 years. One thing that a couple of things. One is like our water rights, most years don't allow us to actually do that. Most years we're operating under some sort of longer duration curtailment and actually have to cut back a bit how much water goes to the partners all throughout the summer months. The other thing that we would probably get into along that same lines is looking at financial impact is our JPA agreement. The way the JPA agreement is set up right now is that the City of Woodland has access to 18 million gallons per day, UC Davis 1.8, City of Davis 10.2. If we get permitted to 34 million gallons per day, we would probably want to look to the overall agreement and adjust what amount of that water each partner gets. And do we change the ratio a little bit or not? And I think that's something we have some time to look into. Overall impacts really would just be in years, like the short-term one would really just be in years where we have more water available. It's just more the amount we pay Jacobs for operations and then pass-through costs like electricity and some of the chemicals would go to the partners that are taking the higher amount of water. Just as we do it now, we split it equally based on how much water is used, or not equally, proportionately on how much water is used. So it would depend on how we look at things going forward, either short-term or long-term.
Okay. All right. Questions? All right. And our good friends at Jacobs, sorry, my sister. Our good friends at Jacobs will be the contractor for the study.
Yes. Yep. Jacobs designed the plant, so they know the plant very well. It'll be Jacobs staff doing the study. They'll be bringing some other people, some outside people from Jacobs in to do the work in-house.
Great. All right. Do we have any members of the public who wish to be heard on this issue? The answer is no. Back to the board. Any further questions, or are we ready for motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. David moves,
I'll second the motion.
and Donna seconds. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. On to item 5 of the agenda.
Yes. The next item is the water transfer agreement between the agency and Salcedo Water District. First, I'll walk through a little bit of background as to why this is on the agenda for today. The agency owns 2 water rights. We have our primary water right, our appropriative water right, 45,000 acre feet. That it is usable for us year-round, except for when Term 91 is in effect. The Term 91 curtailment generally happens between June and September. This year it was June to September. But in the last 8 years, it has gone 5 times past October 31. And we also have our Sac River Settlement Contract water right, 10,000 acre feet, that we can only use April 1 through October 31 every year. So the agency finds itself in the position every year, except for this year, I guess, where we get towards the end of October, and do we have water right or not beginning November 1? When the agency's water rights were acquired, the primary water right has a 1994 priority date, so it's quite a long time ago, but very junior in terms of water rights. The Sac River Settlement Contract water right was from 2010. And when the agency looked at this back at that time, Term 91 curtailment going into winter never happened before that. It was viewed as a very small risk going forward. And if it did, the agency would turn the water treatment plant off and partners would use groundwater. There's several problems with that approach in that the water treatment plant itself runs on a biological process. The biology needs flowing water. It needs oxygen contacting it, so it has to keep moving. The agency also owns 25 miles of water main. We can't have the pipe just sitting stagnant with water not moving in it for many days. You can turn it off for a couple days, but beyond that, it would really be problematic. But the more real problem is that on the partners' water systems, both cities, and I'm not exactly sure to the extent UC Davis did, both of the cities have destroyed most of their groundwater wells, and primarily for water quality reasons, the partners don't have the ability to go back to groundwater 100% anymore. So they're always so we have to keep the water plant running for water quality reasons. We have to keep water going to the cities for partner reasons. The partners do have backup, but not 100%. So we did ask MBK to look at this a few years ago for us. Like I think I just mentioned that 5 of the last 8 or 9 years, curtailment went past October 31. What does that look like going forward for us? The answer came back when they did the analysis that probably 25 to 30% chance every year that we get to this time of year, do we have water in winter or not? And even today, right, the curtailment's not in effect now, but we don't know if it will rain October, November, December. If it doesn't, they could reimpose the curtailment. A few other things are changing on the state's end as well. It seems like they are changing their approach to when they implement Turn 91. Climate is certainly changing from what it used to be. There's a lot more things on the state level, at least for protecting salmon, which can affect reservoir operation and when curtailments are in effect. So what the agency has been doing every year for the past, I think, 8 years or so now, is we've been entering into water transfer agreements on an option agreement to make sure that we have surety that we have water available should we need it. This is an option agreement with Salcedo Water District. So what that means is we pay them $50,000 to reserve 2,000 acre-feet in the reservoir. They keep it in the reservoir for us. If we have a curtailment that's coming, I call them, say, hey, can I start having water tomorrow? It's always a very short-term thing. And then they would make that water available to us. And then the $50,000 that we pay for the option, the first 91 acre-feet of water that we use that is covered by the $50,000 that we pay. That we're not double paying it when we use water. In years where we do not exercise that option, it's an insurance payment for us. So I think this year it's primarily an insurance policy. I don't think we'll need to exercise the option because the curtailment already ended. But at the same time, I don't know, is it going to be like 2021 or 22 coming up this winter, or will it rain? I'm not sure. So having that surety for us is, I think, a good policy for us. I should mention real quickly that these agreements don't happen overnight. We have to generally do CEQA. We have to do a permit document. There's quite a bit of work that goes into permitting this type of thing every year. So it takes us a few months to get these things done and in place. This particular agreement we started working on in June. And the state still hasn't signed off on it yet for this year. So with that, I can take any questions.
Go ahead, please.
And so it's only a 1-year agreement, right?
Yes.
To 26. So why can't we do longer agreements? Why do we have to do this every year and come back and do it and then do the process and do CEQA? Like, why can't we sign a
Yeah, we are working at, so there are a couple of reasons. One, we were trying to prove out that we can do this through reservoir reoperation instead of groundwater substitution. So the first couple of years we did an agreement with Salcedo Water District,
Right.
It was under groundwater substitution. So the state's view was that, well, they're sending water from their reservoir to us. The farmers that they normally serve water to will pump groundwater to irrigate their rice fields. Some of the water that they're pumping with their groundwater wells, the state assumes comes from the water going in the stream to us. So they would assume that 13% of the water that leaves the reservoir is taken by the groundwater wells. So we would have to account for that. The state's now saying that's 25% or even 50%. And it's also, groundwater substitution requires CEQA document. Reservoir reoperation accomplishes the same thing, but it's a different characterization. It's exempt from CEQA, and there's no stream flow depletion factor because we're not claiming that they're using groundwater instead of surface water to make the water available to us. So we wanted to prove that out for a few years to make sure that the state was going to let us continue to do that before we did a longer-term agreement. And this is the third year that they've accepted it. So now we feel confident enough that we can go ahead with a long-term agreement. We do have to do CEQA for a long-term agreement.
Right.
So we're starting that now with ESA. I'm meeting with them again tomorrow on finalizing the scope of work to get that done for us.
So would you think that it would be like the next time this comes to us next year that it would be a longer-term agreement?
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, both for winter. We'll stay with the 2,000 acre-feet for winter option, but also another option for summer. Because we do get droughts, and in certain droughts, when Shasta critical year is in effect, our senior water right is cut by 25%, and now there's the 50% tier that can cut it even further. But even at the 25% cut, that always happens when Term 91 is a longer duration, and even with that, we will need to buy supplemental water in summer for the partners.
Thank you.
So we'll add two different options in the long-term agreement.
Thanks. Thank you.
Josh asked my question, so I'm good.
Okay. Any additional questions here? Any member of the public have a question? Okay. Well, we had it explained to us. This is basically a form of water insurance for our agency. And given the uncertainties we all live with these days, it sounds like a good policy. So how about a motion, colleagues?
Sure. I will move adoption of resolution 2025-04.
Thank you. And David seconds. Any further discussion? There being none, All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. That takes us to item 6. Well, I'll read the, because if anyone ever wants to watch a television record, it's consider adoption of Resolution 2025-05, approving allocation of funds received from Sacramento River Settlement Contractors Drought Protection Program Agreement to the cities of Davis and Woodland for drought resiliency projects. And this is the good news I was referring to earlier.
Yes. Yeah, this is the good news. So the last board meeting, the board approved the agreement with the Sacramento River Settlement Contractors for the Drought Protection Plan Agreement, which allowed the next tier of essentially cuts of our Sacramento River Settlement Contract water right in certain year types. That's where they would cut our water supply by 50% in the most severe drought years. Something like in 2022 where they cut us by 82%. This would give us some protection that is cut 50% and no more. But as part of that agreement, they made it was $1.14 million roughly available to the agency. One caveat to that money is that it had to be used for drought resiliency projects. The agency facilities themselves, because we're new, we were finished construction in 2016, we don't really have the ability to do an in-house drought resiliency project. There's nothing we can do to minimize water loss or anything like that. The cities, however, do. And one other interesting note is that the water rights that the agency owns, the agency actually owns the water stored in the ASR wells. So our water rights permit includes water stored in the ASR wells. So essentially, the partners' aquifer storage and recovery projects are agency projects. So it's a bit of the transitive property that the city's ASR projects are the agencies. So we were able to take the money that was given to us by Bureau of Reclamation through the Sacramento Settlement Contractors, and we can allocate that to the agents to the two cities, City of Woodland, City of Davis, for the respective aquifer storage and recovery projects. City of Woodland is currently in design on its ASR well 31, its fourth ASR well, and the City of Davis is currently going through a feasibility study and permitting for its ASR program. Both of these are eligible expenses under the drought protection program. So this is really kind of a track record that the agency got the money from Sacramento River Settlement Contractors who got it from the Bureau of Reclamation. Money would go to the cities for the ASR programs. The city councils respectively will have to go to their councils to accept the money and move it into the respective CIPs for those programs. So we have the track record that we are spending the money correctly in the federal government's eyes. City of Davis will keep the City of Davis, UC Davis share, and actually pay UC Davis because UC Davis does not have a drought resiliency project, and they're a little under $40,000. So altogether, $1.14 million. City of Woodland's eligible for roughly $592,000. City of Davis, $544,000. Of that, they'll pay Davis just under $40,000 for drought resiliency.
All right.
That I can take any questions.
Any additional questions, members of the board? Any member of the public have a concern? There being none, the action is to adopt the resolution to receive these funds. David will
Or allocate the funds.
Pardon me?
Allocate the funds to the
Allocate
partners.
the funds. David
So moved.
makes the motion,
Second.
and Donna Neville seconds the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That completes our action items. And item 7 is the long-range board calendar.
So long-range board calendar, our next meeting is not until next year. It's in January. January, 15th. Not much on the calendar so far. Jacob's presentation, and then where we are with our budget mid-year budget update.
Do we do our elections at that meeting too, to rotate? No?
We've been doing it in June, but we could switch to January if the board wishes to.
Whatever. Okay, thank you. All right. So that's it for that. Board member comments? Everybody's got water to drink? Yeah. Good, all right. Well, that will conclude our meeting. Our item 9 is our adjournment, and our next regular scheduled meeting is Thursday, January 15th at 3 o'clock in the Woodland City Council chambers. Without any more, we will be adjourned. Thank you.